Hey, welcome back. This is going to be the last video tutorial where we're looking at our basic sheets here. We've got one last thing we need to master in Inventor, and that is sharing these technical drawings that we've made with other people. Right? Remember, we're not necessarily making these technical drawings for ourselves. This is a communication tool that we can give to people to build off of, that we can give to people to kind of share our ideas and communicate some information about the shape of these parts. So we want to share that somehow. Okay? Typically, you're going to do that by printing these off and turning them in. All right, but your instructor might give you other instructions for it, especially if you're a virtual student and you're not in the classroom. So I'm going to go through two ways we can turn this in. I'll show you the printing method first. I'm going to come up here, click on File, come down to Print, and Inventor defaults to this Microsoft Print to PDF. So if you're trying to find a real printer, you're going to want to click the drop-down menu and find the printer that corresponds with the classroom you're sitting in. And now, we talked about adding multiple sheets to one file. All right, right now, if we look at print range, current sheet is selected. If you want to print off all of the sheets in that file, you got to come down here to all sheets and select that. Okay, and then we place these in our drawing sheet at a scale of 1 to 1, and we want to make sure that scale stays the same, just in case somebody's using an architect scale or an engineer scale instead of the dimensions to take and figure out how big a certain aspect of this object is. So we want to make sure our scale stays modeled at 1 to 1 down here. All right, we don't want to check best fit or custom or any of these other things. So keep it at the model equals 1 to 1. I always recommend before we print this off, go ahead and click the preview button and make sure the preview looks like you expect it to. Right? You got a nice border line, your title block is filled out, you've got the necessary views in there, and your object fits on that sheet of paper. If things aren't fitting right on this sheet of paper, or your dimensions are super small text and you can't read them, then we need to go back and make some changes to that. If that happens, consult your instructor. They'll have some good advice on how to fix it. If I were going to output this to a sheet of paper, at this point, I just click the print button here, and it would send it to the printer. I'm not actually going to print it off because it's not going to do a whole lot for our video tutorial here. The other way your instructor might ask you to submit this is by creating a PDF document. This is used a lot in the industry as well. If you're cities away from people, maybe your production shop and your design shop aren't right next door to each other. Engineers might design stuff and they might email the files to a production shop to be produced. Okay? So if that's the case, you're typically going to email them as PDF files so that other people don't alter or edit your work. Okay, to do that, you're going to go File, Print. And remember when I first came in here, I said Inventor defaults to the Microsoft Print to PDF. So we're going to go back to that default now. And just like we did with the regular print, we want to make sure all sheets is selected. If we want to print all sheets, we want to make sure that it's modeled at a 1 to 1 scale. Right, so make sure that's selected. And just like I did with a physical print to paper, before I convert this to a PDF, I want to come in here and just make sure my PDFs fit on that virtual sheet of paper nice too, and they do. So I'm going to go ahead and click the print button here because this print button is like doing a file save as. When I click OK on my print drawing menu, it converts these to PDFs, and then it says, where do you want to save these to? And we should save these in the same spot we've been saving everything else. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive, click on My Drive. I'm going to come down and find the IED folder. All right, and I'll open it up. All right, right now my file doesn't have a name, and so I want to give this a name that's going to be easy for me to find. So I might call it my first 7 shapes. You go ahead and call it what you want, but make sure it's a good descriptive file name so that we're able to find it again. And then we can click Save, and it'll save it to your Gmail or your Google Drive. Right? So now you can share it, you can submit it, you can do other things with this through your Google accounts. So that's the basics of outputting your drawings. Again, your instructor will probably give you some more specific instructions for should you print, should you convert to PDF and submit digital copies, depending on what the assignment is and what your learning mode is. So hopefully this answers some questions for you. As always, if you've got more questions than the video helped you with, please reach out to your instructor and they will be glad to help you.